Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumu and it's great to be on this show where we discuss all things books. Years ago, as a much younger man, I used to be curious. I used to wonder why there were not enough books written by successful Nigerian businessmen and entrepreneurs. Back then, it was a lot easier to find books written by the likes of Bill Gates, Larry Ellison, Richard Branson, and all the entrepreneurial stars of the West. But the question on my mind then was, where were the books written by successful Nigerian businessmen and entrepreneurs? I felt it was important for young people like myself back then to have access to such books and such stories that will inspire, that will help us to be able to develop our own big dreams and pursue those dreams. Well, fast forward to the 2020s, and quite a number of such books have been published. Not nearly enough, though, but sizable number, significant number of such books have been written. And one of them is one we are featuring on the show on this episode. And the good news is it's extending to the next episode. Our special guest author for today is no other person than Greg Ogbeifun. You get to meet with him very soon, but what an inspiring story he has, what great achievements he's made in Nigeria and beyond. It is a kind of story that many young people, and not so young people out there, need at this point in time. His autobiography titled Not Always Easy is in focus. Let's get to meet with this special guest and enjoy the conversation exploring his autobiography.
Greg Ogbeifun is a marine engineer, maritime consultant, blue economy expert, entrepreneur, and the pioneer of Nigeria's first privately owned ship repair yard, Stars Marine and Engineering Limited. Ogbeifun has a first-class certificate of competency in marine engineering from the United Kingdom. Greg Ogbeifun is the chairman of Stars Investments Company Limited, Stars Gas Limited, and Eagle Watch Security Limited. He is a member of the British Society of Marine Consultants and Ship Surveyors, American Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers, and fellow Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. He joins Channel's Book Club to discuss his autobiography, Not Always Easy.
Engineer Greg Ogbeifun, nice to have you on Channel's Book Club.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here.
And nice to see you again after a long time.
After a long time.
Indeed.
Finally dragged you here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
You've lived a very distinguished career, life, had a distinguished career. And your story finally documented in a book. Let's dive in. This is a story of your life from birth. And in this book, we learned about your parents who inspired you, your father who inspired you, your early years, your siblings, those early years in Aba and in Enugu and then to Benin and Edo College and so on. So first of all, at what point did you decide, okay, time to tell the story and put it together in a book?
My life is an interesting one. My children, when they begin to grow, may be asking a lot of questions about their father. What was his life like when he was a child?
He was young.
When he was young. So I think that was the first thing that inspired me, that I needed to leave something behind that my successions, generations after me, family, can always go back to. Understand where I'm coming from and the experiences I've had that shaped my life. And in doing that, I realized it was important.
So your background poor, economically speaking now. So you wrote in the book, those early years, your father was an artisan.
He was a
Carpenter specifically. And, you know, how he inspired you, his own contact with the Europeans. And, you know, I remember a part of your story where he took you to live with, was it a friend of his, or I can't remember, where you were almost like a houseboy.
Yes, a Benin man and a rich friend of his. And my father used to work and do artisan work for him here and there.
And he took you there. You were almost like more or less like a houseboy there, but it exposed you.
I was, yes.
It exposed you to. I would like you to introduce viewers to this story, the early parts. Let's start with the early parts of your story as you narrated in this book, just for them to have an idea of what they will find as they flip through this page.
Well, play back a little bit. In those days, in the 50s, the country had the Federal Civil Service. So all the ministries at the federal level were federal ministries of XYZ. So my father was in Federal Ministry of Industries.
Trade.
Industries,
okay, yes. Initially.
Yes. And therefore, he was transferred to different parts of the country at different times to work as a federal civil servant.
And his work was carpentry?
Yes, he was a carpenter. So now, in Aba, he was attached to the government agency that was producing, they called it looms, for weaving clothes material. They will weave like the type of things, is it the calabash? The type of batik material that they make.
I forgot what they call.
I'm trying to think of the name, yeah. So he was repairing, he was designing, he was making these things in Aba. Prior to that time, he had married 3 wives.
Without children?
That is, he was always a monogamist. So he was a serial monogamist. He'll marry one, there's an issue. So the main thing that was making the women not to stay, or him not to stay with them, is that they kept having female children.
Oh.
And some of the female children were also not staying. So when it was my mom, then he married my mom.
Yeah, in his pursuit of a male child.
Right, so the first child became a female, my elder sister, of blessed memory now. So when my mother was pregnant for me, and of course, as you know, at that time they didn't have scanning machine to tell the sex.
Whether it's male or female.
So he said to my mom in Aba, you'll go to Benin.
I'll stay there.
And go and have that child there. If it's a girl, you can just remain there. But if it's a boy, you come back. And behold,
it was you.
It was me. So my father had a celebration for 1 week in Aba. And my mother was given a royal welcome when she came back. Okay? So that's stuff. Now, as a child, I started my nursery school in Aba. And it was evident that Daddy was not up there. So we used to go to school with slates and then give us dry fish and gari for, potatoes. And then come 1958, when I was 7, Daddy was transferred to Enugu. And in Enugu, he was with the pottery industry.
Okay.
Over time, he kept rising. Don't forget, in those days, even though you're a carpenter, you needed to learn the trade for a minimum of 3 years and qualify before you can go out and say you're a carpenter. Not these days, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
drivers just know how to operate a car, they are already drivers. In those days, you have to spend that minimum period of time to qualify. So Daddy was a very well-trained and experienced. But I began to notice that there was hardship and lack, even from Abba.
In your home?
Yeah. And then later in life, when things got better, he used to tell me that at the age of 5, I used to say to him and my mom that I would like to study and be educated so I can be rich to take care of them. He used to tell me that at the age of 5, I began to talk that way. So in 1958, we were transferred to Enugu. But the thing that was significant in this, let me divert a little bit, is that both in Aba and in Enugu, we didn't know, all we just knew was that we are Nigerians.
Yeah. You were speaking Igbo, right? You grew up there, so you spoke Igbo fluently. All of you.
Yeah, I mean, in Enugu, they used to have masquerades. It was a popular thing that come Christmas, masquerades will be going around. The younger ones, they'll be collecting money. They'll be giving them, money. Sometimes they give you rice on Christmas. You dance with them. And the way the masquerades carrier is picked is through a dancing competition. Of course, they are Igbo dancers. Mm-hmm. So I used to win the dancing competition against the Igbos, and I used to be the one that carried the masquerade.
Well, that didn't matter then, because
everybody just was one. Mm. So when you look back now, and I said to myself, so sad.
That changed in your book. That story changed when the Biafra War was about to start, and you were forced, more or less, to leave Enugu and go to Benin.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, you were now...
Yeah, we woke up one day. Of course, I was already a teenager, I think 13, 14, 15. My daddy, all we knew were Igbos, were Nigerians, and we were just living there. And he came back from work agitated. Everybody, let's pack. We have to run. We have to run. Daddy, what's going on? Just everybody, let's pack. Anyway, it turned out that the Ojukwu then now announced that all non-Easterners should leave this.
About 2 days.
So that was when my daddy said that, look, this is not our home. We come from Benin. So we're going back to Benin. Mm. And that was how we now realized, oh.
So we're not from here.
We're not from here. We're not one.
Mm. Oh, sad.
As a matter of fact, they had to go and hide us so that we're not harmed before we're able to be smuggled out of. And Daddy left everything he had. He had the house. And then when we got to Benin, we didn't have the house. So Daddy had to go and rent the place. I think that was the beginning of the problem in this country. That whole civil war thing, military interaction, that people, and I don't know how it can be healed.
You are a successful, wealthy businessman. You may not want to...
Be careful, I don't want to be kidnapped.
Yeah, you don't want to be kidnapped, but... yeah,
but I'm grateful to God, yes.
Yeah, we thank God. I mean, that transition, your background, when you remember where you come from, and when you remember where you are now, and that journey that took you to where you are now, what goes through your mind?
Destiny.
Destiny.
Destiny. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in God and what God can do. I think even before you were born, your maker has destined what you will be, or what he desires you to be. Because sometimes our choices can take us out of his will. Because everything I've done in my life has never been planned. The only thing I know I consciously did was, one, I intention to be a good child. I intention to be studious and develop myself academically, because my father was not educated, my mother was not educated. I desired, even as a child, to change the destiny of the home, to make us not wealthy, but comfortable and be able to meet our needs. So that guided everything I did, up to and include when I'm preparing for my examinations, my conduct in school, so you don't bring shame to the family and things like that. And the outcome of all of that was I always excelled in everything I did, academic, and I think that transcended to my business life and things like that.
So are you saying that, I mean, because in this book I see perseverance, hard work, vision, making the right decisions at the right time. I see a lot of that in this book. Are you saying that at times, yeah, as important as they could be overrated? The factor of destiny trumps them all.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. There are a lot of people who do all those things you read out, and still they don't get what they want. There are a lot of people who work hard, who spend more time studying, who are good children, who come from good homes, and they don't quite get there. I mean, I know a few of my school colleagues whose parents were already very wealthy, and they used to come to school, driving nice cars and things like that. We were all in the same class. We were all exposed to the same conditions. They were subjected to the same rigors of education. When I look back, I see that even though they had all it took to be successful, some of them actually are still looking for help to survive. So there must be a divine
factor outside of
outside all the human element. And by the way, I'm not the most righteous person. Of course, the book talks about it all, good, bad, and ugly. And see where I am today. I can also say that I enjoy some level of compassion as I was growing up. And that also has played a role in how I see success. If I'm successful and the people around me are struggling, and I know I can give a bit of me to help them, and I don't do it, I don't have peace. So I actually now intentionally give of me to everybody around me, the workers, people around where you live. I think there's also a divine reaction to that, because I never lack. So there must be that factor.
Yeah.
I can only call it the God we talk about, who sees your heart.
Yeah.
So some of the things you achieve, the things I've achieved, I know definitely it's not my effort.
To illustrate that,
Yes.
I mean, I think that is well illustrated in your story. I mean, today you are known as a doyen in the maritime industry, shipping industry and all that. the story of how you even got on that path in this book, which I would like you to share. Which
You
I
want me
think
to share it?
I would like to share a bit of it, because I want people to read this book.
Yeah.
Let's not say everything.
Yeah.
But I'd like you to share a bit of that, because I think it aptly illustrates what you're saying. That some of the decisions you made that have taken you to where you are, a number of them were not really planned. So that tells you that there is a factor beyond human calculations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Very quickly, again in Enugu, Daddy used to play pools. You know those things?
Pools.
Yeah, pools. Yeah,
Yeah.
So he used to buy the Nigerian Outlook. So whilst he's picking out the pools, I would take the newspaper and go to the scholarship page. In those days, almost every day, a scholarship being, and that was how I stumbled on
The Shell Scholar. Yeah.
the Shell scholarship. Was a bit later. No, yeah, okay. That's where the marine issue started. So I stumbled on this was in Benin, not in Enugu. We had come to Benin, and then I saw all sorts of scholarship, federal government. I wanted to be an engineer. I knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I did not want to be the common engineers, mechanical, electric, the regular ones. Yeah. I needed something different, but I didn't know what.
You didn't know what?
Yeah. Until I saw Shell scholarship and federal government scholarship, marine engineer. Marine. And Benin people, they're always afraid of water. But then I got interested. I wanted to do this thing that is different.
Yeah.
So I went to the British Council Library to go and encyclopedia to start reading of what's a marine engineer. But meanwhile, I applied for the scholarships.
Regardless. And regardless of despite the fact that you didn't really know much about it.
I applied for the scholarship. And during the interview with Shell, we had about 5 aptitude tests before the final interview. So I used to go to the library to go and read up. After reading about that, then I now started asking questions about, is there any Nigerian or where I can see a marine engineer? Let me see what they even look like. And that was what took me to Warri. I found out there was Shell in Warri. And I met these 2 of them. I was looking at them, marine engineer. So I told them what I was doing. So they sat down and told me about it. I said, okay, I'm ready for the interview. So I went, and then, as God will have it, I passed. And then after passing, the federal government scholarship came out, and I was also afforded. Now, that is where the destiny comes in. Federal government was for me to go to Guildford University in Surrey, in the UK, to go and read marine engineering. Shell BP was for me to read marine engineering. I needed to know what the difference was. So I headed back to Warri, and I saw marine engineers, and they explained to me that this one is a degree, this one is professional. Then they said something that just nailed it. That we share scholarship from the day one you become, they put you on salary. I said, that's one of them.
What a story. Well, like I said at the beginning, we are not done with that yet. We are extending this to the next episode because we really do need to learn a lot from this particular book and such books. Again, like I said at the beginning, our stories need to be told, the stories of people who have been able to achieve incredible things in our society. Those stories need to be preserved and told, and not always easy. It's a great attempt at doing that. Meet us again next week. Join us again next week for the concluding part of that interview. And I hope you get a copy of the book, read it, and send us your impressions on the book through our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.